Hi there, my name is Jordan Pajzinski. I graduated from Oakland University in 2017 with a biology human anatomy specialization. I'm in veterinary school right now and I'll be one of your TAs. So let's just jump right into it. This is going to be kind of a lot of information, a lot of just basic information, but hopefully it's been presented to you already, you've looked into it, and it's kind of just a nice refresher, a slightly different viewpoint if anything, okay? Let's get right into it. Okay, so we have anatomical position, planes of reference, directional terms, and body regions. I told you it was a lot, sorry about that. So starting out here, anatomical position, what is it? So anatomical position is where the body is upright, directly facing the observer, the feet are flat and facing forward, upper limbs are at the side of the body, and the palms are facing forward. So this is important so that we always have a kind of a base or a reference point when we're talking about anatomy. So this is kind of the standard, and this gives you an idea of what it is and what it looks like. These are not in anatomical position. You can see here, this hand, the palm is not exposed to us. Feet are turned out. This guy is not even facing us. This one's almost anatomical position, but it's not because the palms are not facing us. So just something to keep in mind. Moving on, we have the planes of reference and directional terms. Sorry, I couldn't figure out how to get this into like big screen mode, so you'll have to bear with it the way it is. So we have the transverse or horizontal plane. So this is going to divide the body into upper and lower sections, cutting right across there. Okay. Next is the sagittal plane. So the sagittal plane is essentially cutting from top to bottom here, and it can be cutting the body into right and left sections, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in the center, it can just be cutting in there anywhere. Now this is similar but different to the mid-sagittal or median plane. So median plane is going to cut down right through the center, right through midline. Midline is this imaginary vertical line that's running and cutting the body into exactly right and left equal pieces. The frontal or coronal plane, so that's going to be dividing the body into front and back sections. We'll have more complicated terms for all of these things as opposed to front and back as we move on here, but just as layman's terms, front versus back. So the front of the chest versus the back of the buttock there. Frontal and coronal planes. Directional terms. So I kind of already mentioned midline, sorry to spoil it there for you. So midline is going to be referring to that imaginary vertical line that's going straight down the middle of the body, dividing it into equal right and left portions. And then when we look at medial and lateral, so this is going to take into account our knowledge of the median or midline here. So midline is going straight down here. Medial is referring to being closer to the midline versus lateral, which is further away from the midline. So you could say, for example, that the, let's see, what could we do? The sternum, which lies right here in the chest, the sternum is medial to the elbow. Next, we have anterior and posterior. So posterior is going to be referring to a direction towards the back of the body, and anterior is referring to the direction towards the front of the body. So you could say the buttock is posterior to the ear. Okay. Proximal and distal, this is only going to apply to limbs here. So when we're looking at proximal, that's meaning that it's closer to the trunk or closer towards the general mass of the body. And distal is further away from the trunk. Same thing on the leg down here as on the arm up here. So you would say that the knee is proximal to the ankle, or the ankle is distal to the knee. Superior and inferior, these are pretty basic ones. Superior is towards the head or up above the body, inferior is down towards the toes. So the way you could use that is by saying that the umbilicus is inferior to the chest cavity, right? The umbilicus is inferior to the chest cavity. And superficial and deep. So this is our last little set of directional terms here. Superficial is referring to being closer to the body surface versus deep is away from the body surface. So heading deep into the body. Now, this is a cross-sectional or a transverse section on a CT. You don't need to know anything about this. I just thought it was a cool photo to kind of try and display this. So if you're going to look at this here, you could say that in this photo, the small intestine right there, is superficial to, say this structure here. It's superficial to the aorta, okay? Again, just showing you directional terms. You could also say that the external oblique muscle is superficial to the right kidney. Okay? Lots of ways to use that one. And that'll come into good help, I believe, when you start to look at the muscles of the body. There's a lot of layering, so superficial versus deep will be very important to know. So now let's move on to the body regions. I thought for a really long time on how to display this to you guys and how to really teach it to you. I couldn't really think of a great way. I'm kind of just going to word dump here, so I apologize for that. But they will be really helpful when you start to learn muscles and different functions of things. So body regions, let's look at the head here first of all. So a lot of these are root words either from the Greek or Latin language. So they're very helpful to learn, I think, just in medicine. So cephalus is going to be referring to the head or the cephalic region. Cranium is referring to the skull. Facies, face, easy one. Oculus, referring to the eye. Bucca or buccal, or many ways to say it, is referring to the cheek region. Oris is the ear. Nasus is the nose. Luckily, there are a couple of easy ones like that. Oris is referring to the mouth. And mentalis is referring to the chin. Some of these aren't so intuitive, but like I said, you'll get more repetition with them when you start using the different muscles, the different structures on the bones, and otherwise you'll just have kind of little ways to remember them. One I like to use is for mentalis. That's not always super intuitive. Mentalis is referring to chin. When you think about the thinker, that pretty characteristic statue, look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about. He's holding his chin in his hand. So when he's really thinking, when he's really getting mental, he's holding his chin. Again, just silly little ways to remember things. Sometimes you need it. Moving on to the torso. So you have the cervices or the cervical region, which is the neck. I'll pop back up here really quick. The neck right there. The torso, which is the body minus the limbs and the head. So basically it's everything except for your arms, legs, and head. Then you have the thorax, which is, in layman's terms, the chest, which is the region between the neck and the abdomen. And then you have the mammillary region, which is like the breast region or the pectoral region, if you can think of it like that. The dorsum is referring to the back. So that's just a general term for back. Think of a dolphin, how they have a dorsal fin sticking up on their back, or a shark with a dorsal fin. Just remember the dorsal fin comes out at the back of the animal, thus referring to the back. The abdominal region is the stomach. And then the lumbus is the lower back area, lumbar. Umbilicus is the belly button. And the inguinal region is in the groin. I'll just pop down here really quick so you can see it. Inguinal region right here in the groin. Okay. Now we have the upper extremity, or as part of the upper appendage. So the upper extremity, lay terms, arm. The axilla is the armpit. Acromion is the shoulder. Brachium is the upper arm. So kind of think of the part where like your biceps are. That's your brachium. And then the olecranon, which is the back part of your elbow, if you will. Again, a lot of these will make more sense when we actually move on to looking at the bones individually and looking at muscles. So now continuing on, we have the antebrachium, which is the forearm. Antebrachium. So remember, we had the brachium or brachial region and the antebrachial region. The dorsum, which is the back of the hand. Again, referring to back. The palma or palmar surface, which is the palm of the hand. Pollex is the thumb. And the phalanges are the fingers, also known as the digits. And then another, just couple little good ones to know are the carpal region, which is the wrist, carpus. And then the manus is just referring to the hand as a whole. For the lower appendage here, we have the os coxa or the hip. The pubic region, also the genital region. The gluteal region, which is the buttock. Lower extremity, again, lay term is leg. But in anatomy, we separate them out by saying that the femoral region, the femur runs just like this. That is the thigh. And then we have the patellar region right down here, patellar region, which is like your kneecap, and the popliteal region, which is going to be the back area of your knee, almost like the crux of your knee. Then we have the crura, which is the shin or the front of your leg. We call the lower part, the area between your ankle and your knee, to be the leg. Upper part is the thigh here. So we call the crura the front part of the leg, the shin. And the sura is the back part of the leg, also known as the calf area. Tarsus is your ankle, right there, tarsus. Dorsum of the foot is the top of the foot here. Plantar surface of the foot is the bottom of the foot, right? So we have the top of the foot and the bottom of the foot. The hallux is the big toe, and the plantar region I mentioned was the bottom part of the foot. So there are a lot of similarities here between the hand and the foot as far as naming goes. So you can almost think of the palmar and the plantar surfaces as being very similar, not the same, they're not interchangeable, but very close, right? Because you have a dorsum on both your foot and your hand. And then you have the palmar surface of the hand, palmar surface, and plantar surface of the foot here. So some similarities there just to think about in the back of your brain. And then you have the hallux, which is the big toe, versus the thumb on the hand, which is the pollex. Those things we'll keep in mind. They'll be helpful when you do go on to naming muscles and such. So that's everything that I have for you right now. This was just a basic intro into the information. I hope it was helpful. I hope it cleared things up. If you have any questions, please contact Professor Craig, and she can either get a hold of me or handle it herself. I also plan on doing virtual TA hours, office hours, so that you can come in, drop in, and just ask me any questions, just to clarify anything. And that could be any topic, not just what I taught this week. And I also was thinking about kind of doing a Kahoot or like a Jeopardy kind of session. If you guys are interested in that, I'd be more than happy to organize that. Just thinking of different ways for you guys to learn. It's really important for you to look at different pictures and different diagrams of things. And of course, the cadaver images when we do have that available. So when that's applicable, it will be very helpful, especially with muscles and things like that. So otherwise, hope this was good. I accept any feedback, that'd be great. Again, this is Jordan, and I look forward to teaching you guys more this summer. Thanks.